Well, good morning to all the Forrest Fenn searchers, and this is my video blog. This is my Wanderlust channel. It is a search for Forrest Fenn's Gold. So, I am here on a wonderful Saturday morning. We're looking forward to 4th of July here, and I spent some time away from the thrill of the chase. Sometimes I think you can get too deep into it, and I started to get frustrated with my own solves and kind of spending way too much time on the thrill of the chase, and wanted to talk about some things, just random stuff. So one of the things I'm going to dive right into this random stuff. I'm going to use a bunch of kind of Google images and try and slide those in and out of here. One of the things I thought was kind of interesting was, and I tend to do that, is I tend to go and watch other video blogs, other people's content, because I kind of want to hear other people's chatter, and I definitely don't know anybody else to talk to, and so you end up sort of in a blind, and you want to have other people to sort of talk about things. So I tend to sort of listen to what other people are saying and then respond to that. So one of the things I just heard about, and I've thought about this before, and I've seen this on Reddit threads, having to do with this, the path of the sun during the year. I've been involved in astronomy for a really long time. Anybody who's really involved with astronomy is familiar with this. So what somebody did very cleverly is that they came and took pictures of the sun. They took pictures of the sun throughout the year, and they just kind of went to the same location and set the camera up every time perfectly aligned, or the camera was there the whole time. But usually they just come and you take a picture, you know, like every I think it's every 2 or 3 weeks. I think there's how many of these? Like 24 of them. Anyways, you can see the shape that the sun makes in its path during. I think the low is winter, and then the top is summer, which would be the summer solstice, which is just past June 22nd. And then, depending on your latitude on the planet Earth, see if I can get the other diagram up. But depending on your latitude on the planet Earth, this, uh, you know, the height at which the sun rises and the lowest point will be slightly different, I do believe. And I mean, this thing can get really complex. If you look at this diagram from this website, I mean, it's extreme, can get very complex if you start getting into the very, the actual precision of the location of the sun. And so the reason why we say, well, why are you interested in where the sun is? What does that have to do with the thrill of the chase? And so one of the things that I've always come up with, or one of the things that's in my notes as a solve, and the reason why I'm referring to is because I saw somebody talking about it, is that where warm waters halt could be a reference to the location of the sun. In other words, and maybe this is something you may have seen with some, you may have remembered from high school or something, was that basically, the sun rises, higher in the sky during summer than it does in winter. And this is crazy. This is really cool that they used a special filter and they took a picture of the sun. This is actually, I believe, a picture during the day, and then they used a special filter to take a picture of the sun, and then, anyways, this is the net result of somebody taking a picture of the actual sun as it crosses the sky. I think this is a whole year. Anyways, very cool. And when you could almost argue, is this the blaze? And why do you need to be wise to see the blaze? But I just think that, I don't know. I think this is more complex than one would. It's way more complex than I think that Forrest Fenn maybe had intended. So here was one more diagram I thought was pretty good that shows a very good, a reasonably easy to understand diagram of that. The sun's path, and there's a little guy, a person standing there looking to the east. That the sun's path on June 21st is higher, right? And then on the March 21st and September 22nd, it's kind of in the middle, and then on winter or around Christmas, it's at its lowest point on the horizon. As it comes up, it's very low during the middle. During the middle of the year, it's higher, and then from summer, right, it rises at its highest point on the horizon, crosses the sky, and sets at its lowest point on the horizon. Great. So maybe you need to maybe that could be part of the trick of this thing is that you do need to be at the right place at the right time. And one would say that a good rule of thumb would be right around the summer solstice. And maybe the reason why you need to be wise to see the blaze is because, and Forrest Fenn has said that the poem is pretty straightforward. And uh, I think that goes back to the old simple kind of farm lore, is that a wise person is gets up early in the morning. What is it? Early bird catches the worm. Is maybe that along the same line of you only can grab the banana every time you pass the banana tree, or grab a banana when you get the chance when you go past the tree. I know it's weird threading of a thing in there, but so let's just assume that Forrest Fenn is saying you need to get up on the summer solstice and watch the sun come up. Okay, great. Then what? Yeah, get a cup of coffee and enjoy a beautiful sunrise. I mean, and it is pretty amazing too. Had to get a drink of coffee there. It is pretty amazing to get up in the summer. You have to get up really early, like around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and it is pretty. It is a pretty sunrise if it's clear out, obviously, and you see all the morning stars, and actually a lot of the birds start to come out singing even at that early in the morning, and the sky changes some pretty amazing colors. From inky black, you get all these crazy blues all the way till that sun comes over the horizon. I don't know. I do think it's another one could be that he always talks about uh, this. This is very interesting that you have the map. And I tell you something, I have had just the worst allergies this year. I'm so stuffed up. It's just been awful. So I it's been rough. It's been a rough year for me for allergies. I just keep sneezing and sneezing. It's crazy. So you see, okay, I got to stop again. All right, so a lot of sneezing and stuff going on there. So the only thing I can think of, if you get a drawing tool, and I'm just gonna draw on this real quick, is that if the sun is like coming up, right, and when you're standing there, this is a person. I'm standing here, right, and I'm looking at the sun coming up in the east, and if I look down at the ground this opposite way, my shadow is gonna be really long, right? But by say 10 a.m., uh, by 10 a.m., the sun is way higher in the sky. So here's 10 a.m. Me at 10 a.m. standing at the same place, right? So now, if I look at my shadow, it's not as long. But by the time the sun gets higher up here at noon, and here I am, it's a bad example, poorly thought out here. At noon, and I look at my shadow, it's going to be really short. And then it's going to come back around. It's going to get longer as the afternoon goes on. My shadow is going to get longer and longer. Okay, now what? Why? What is the purpose of this? But could it be that silly simple so that if you stand and you have a shadow, right, and you hold a stick out like this, and you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, for example, and the sun's coming out, look at your shadow, right? It's going to be distorted from this Now I'm off of the drawing tool. It's going to be distorted right from this outline, right? And I understand this is supposed to be the outline of Forrest Fenn, right? But I'm wondering if you hold this up and you wait all day. I mean, I have to wait all day, but I wait, you know, and wait till a certain point. And it doesn't have to be exactly the summer solstice. Oh boy. But, it could be, like June, 20th, maybe all the way till July 15th. You're going to, maybe even a longer period, that at some point, but I mean, I'm guessing you want to be more accurate, that when you stand, at some point during the day, your shadow is going to match this. And interestingly enough, if you look at the lines of angle on here, they start at 8 and they go to 15. And if you look at a military clock, it starts at 0, which is midnight. 6 a.m. is 6 o'clock. 9 a.m. is 9 a.m. And then high noon is 12, right? And you get 13, what do you get? 12, 13, 14, and then 15 is 3 o'clock. So, interestingly enough, look, Forrest Fenn is saying that somewhere between, yep, somewhere between 8 and 15, the hours of 8 and 15, that's what we're looking for. So, what I'm saying is, if you stand and you wait, and when you have to see your shadow, right, with your back to the sun, you mean around summer solstice, until your shadow has this same angle of repose, right, on the ground behind you, and then mark the time. And I'm wondering if when that happens, you mean you're going to get a time and say it's noon, okay? Whoops, I paused. So now, just say for example that just happens to be exactly at. Okay, let's choose a different time because that goes right through Yellowstone Park, and that makes me angry. Let's try. Say it happens at 11:30, or yeah, let's just do 11. So basically, what that means is, what Forrest Fenn has been saying is that gives you the line, right? So say I had to zoom in. I pushed all the wrong buttons. So I'm back. So I think I'm back. So say it was 11 a.m., right? So that's 11 degrees. And so that means what Forrest Fenn is saying is you now have you've figured out the clue, right? It's on this line, right? And wouldn't that be weird? Is that it's exactly on one of these lines, and I'm sort of giving away a bunch of my ideas and solves, and that was one of the ideas or solves that I've had all along. Is that um, that's maybe one of the unintended clues that Forrest Fenn said, because he said the one day he holds up the map and he says that the map was cut off at the 49th parallel, and he holds it up and he looks at the map and he says that there's an unintended clue on the map. And I'm wondering, or maybe he didn't say that. I'm saying that. I'm adding it together. But I think that could be one of the unintended clues. Is that the location is under one of these lines, and that could be what it is. I mean, and the question is, does that take special knowledge or special skill to figure out what I just said about the sun, right? So that's it for this little rant, and I'm going to post this real quick. So like my videos and subscribe, and I might do another one about some other ideas that I have too, real quick here. Thanks for listening.